Tears you down, darling. Says you're nothing at all.
Goddamn, Sam.
But I'll pick you up, darling. When she left you fall.
Life is crazy, man.
Life is so crazy. Life
Streets ain't the
is
streets
so
no more.
crazy. And you don't even know it.
Hey.
Peace, 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 family. How you all doing? I hope all is well with you. My name is Keisha. I'm the owner of Astrologiks, and I am your astrology coach. Today, I'll be discussing Pluto going direct. I wanted to take a little bit of a different approach with this particular transit, just because, not gonna lie, this energy is a little bit heavy. And I'll get into the specifics why. And if I feel like the video is not that long, I might even go through all 12 signs. And so bear with me, family, as I get through all this information. But Pluto in Capricorn goes direct on today, October 12th to November 19th at 29 degrees. And it will go into Pluto in Aquarius, November 20th, and it'll be in Aquarius until 2044. And so there's definitely a change or an end of an era happening here on a pretty massive level that I think everybody is feeling quite deeply. Capricorn, Aquarius, and Scorpio will feel this the most, but everybody has Capricorn somewhere in their chart. And so that area of life is probably where you'll be feeling this the most. And so Pluto is the underworld, and Capricorn is Lucifer, right? But the story of Lucifer is allegorical, meaning it's just explaining a time that we would be experiencing Lucifer's story in some way, shape, or form, right? And so Lucifer, also known as Lucifer Morning Star, was the brightest light out of all the other angels. He was the most beautiful of them all. He worked the hardest. He fought the hardest. He reached the level of mastery and became just as good as God. He became really obsessed with taking God's spot. So he became defiant. He let his ego take over. And he wanted acknowledgement for becoming the most beautiful, brightest star from God. But God was too focused on his children down here on earth. And so what God did as a punishment to Lucifer was banished him to earth. And out of anger, Lucifer terrorized people down here. He played on their weaknesses, made them do devilish things, fed off of their anger and pain. But his superpower to being able to do this was to see through people and get them to tell their true desires. And after a while, he realized that the only difference between himself and the people down here on earth was that he was immortal. He had knowledge of self. He had a superpower. He had already reached, his godhood, if you will, the God power within inside him. And he wasn't a victim to the choices that he made. He wasn't vulnerable, right? And so, I share that story because I think it's very empowering. The lesson that Lucifer had to learn by being banished to Earth was that because he did all the work to become the brightest star out of all of the other angels, is what made him great. He was able to tap into his God power, receive his superpower, whatever that was. And because he was able to see that the people down here weren't the enemy, and it was their circumstances and their lack of knowledge of self, he was able to return back as an angel. And in astrology, this is also explained when planets are invisible in the sky. And I have talked about this before in different videos, specifically the Venus star point. There are certain times when Venus becomes invisible in the sky, and this is when she's at her lower self, right? And there are times when Venus is visible in the sky, and this is when she's at her higher self. This could also be explained as squares when we experience transits going through squares, retrogrades, and when they're at their anaretic degree is typically when we will feel the more lower expressions of an energy or transit than normal. And this kind of this particular transit is a representation of Lucifer's lair. And in Lucifer's lair, which is the underworld, it represents the lessons that we have to learn over and over again until we can return back to our angelic self, our higher self, or rise like the phoenix, which comes with a lot of pressure. This is where we make bad decisions until we realize our bad behavior and pay for our sins. This is also when we ask for forgiveness, where we have to sit with agony, disappointment, anger, feeling left out, misunderstood, and even having some mental health issues and having like a mental breakdown. Um, this could also represent some of the hardest lessons that we have to face under pressure, because pressure brings change, transformation. It helps us evolve to become a better version of ourselves. And so, again, I'm really not trying to sugarcoat this transit at all, but I think it's important to share that story as a way to say, whatever you might be going through right now, God's not through with you yet. You know, you still have time to fix and resolve whatever's coming up. And it's not coming up as a way to like it's not happening to you, it's happening for you to make a better decision this time around, to do something different, to make some kind of change, to actually evolve. And knowing that Pluto is not the bad guy. Capricorn is not the bad guy. Scorpio is not the bad guy, although it can feel that way. It just represents a time to address our darker side, acknowledge it, do not hide it, do not, brush it under the rug, talk about it, right? If you think about all the things that Pluto rules, it's childhood, um, you know, trauma, it's going to therapy, whether you're doing that using astrology or any of the parapsychologies, doing some studying or going and doing some deep research about yourself, about issues, about problems, about things, right? Getting counseling, if I haven't said that already, paying off debt, whether that's karmic debt, which it definitely can be with this being in Capricorn, is very karmic sign. or actual debt, right? Pluto rules debt, taxes, insurances, and getting caught up on bills and whether you owe other people. It could be just owing them an apology. And so you might get a lot of people coming back with apologies, trying to reach out to, again, like I had mentioned in another video, to get that devil off their back. They could be feeling the strain of the things that they have done to you or vice versa. You're going to feel pressure. This is going to be extremely intense pressure to resolve something, to fix something. It's going to feel like I don't have time. I'm running out of time. I have to get this done. I need to address this. I need to apologize. I need to pray. I need to change. I need to do something different. I need to find my purpose. I need to find my power. I need to take my power back. I need to stand up for myself. I need to something um, to change, transform, and evolve out of the pressure that you might be feeling at this time. I think what makes this so crucial is that the exact same time that Pluto goes direct, it will be conjunct the um, the moon in Aquarius, and it'll be moving into Aquarius in November, as I had mentioned earlier in the video, right? And so a lot of this is going to be about getting ahead, building power, building success, building wealth, um, privilege, um, to master something, to have drive, to work hard, to practice hard, to show maturity, to be disciplined. And we'll see that the hard work will pay off, whatever we do now until the next 6 months. And I say 6 months because this is definitely a building point until we get to the Aries full moon happening on October 17th. And that full moon, from a mythological perspective, is also about the prodigal son. I often think of Thor, which is the same story as Lucifer. If you've ever watched all the movies on Thor, it was about him being in his ego. He was getting ready to be king. He was getting ready to, he was in a battle with his father about being a warrior and fighting when it wasn't necessarily about that. Not to mention, his father had his own demons that he had to work through, which was what he was hiding. That they had a sister who they kind of buried away. They had a whole other family. They had Loki, who was stolen from a battle that they've had with an enemy that he took and raised as his own. I mean, these are all things that we can see going on within ourselves at this time. And I actually did just kind of want to bring up the chart right quick. I won't spend too much time here, family, but I did want to take a look at it because of everything that we have going on in the sky at this time. I mean, look at it. It's all of this Libra energy right here that's in that we've been talking about. I mean, look at the stellium of planets in Libra, Lilith, Juno. So we already know, we've been talking about it. This is about relationships, partnerships, coming together, how we connect, why we connect, talking about it. And then the South Node is ending how we think about those things. And again, trying something different. And then we have Venus in Scorpio, which we've already talked about, our desires and what it is we truly want, and get into the bottom of that, having the proper conversations to making sure that we're getting all of those things. And then we have what will be right here, the moon and the full moon in Aquarius and Aries, sorry, even though it's not a eclipse, it's pretty damn close, you know. Um, and it's just really telling me that we are coming to the end of an era in a pretty major way. And then you have Pluto, Mars, and Cancer. So we're talking about legacy again, family, home, property, family issues, generational curses, addressing those things, digging them up. So much pressure, so much so that you can't, it's not going to be avoidable. You know, people are going to want to talk about these things. They're going to want to get them off of their chest. They're going to want to repent. They're going to want to pray. They're going to want forgiveness. And then you're going to have the Jupiter and Gemini energy, which we already are discussed, and that's going to be about doing the work, writing things out, becoming a journalist in some way, shape, or form, learning something, studying something, reading something, you know, speaking, presenting, launching something, getting marketing done. This could definitely be about the workplace. There's no doubt in my mind that I think work is going to become so unbearable that it could cause anxiety attacks, people not wanting to be at work, not showing up, not showing up, but not at their best. There could be so many different changes going on where there's more weight lifted on, you know, on a team that people are like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. There could be businesses and places closing, banks closing, department stores closing. We're talking about Libra here. So anything to do with clothing, but any kind of material good, to be quite frank. You know, a lot of endings. I think on the world stage, we're going to see a lot of political messiness, which isn't any different than any other time. I think we can all agree to that. But, you know, essentially, how I feel is it's going to be pretty intense. There's going to be laws changing, legislations changing, people in power changing, people in power stepping down. We could have some violence going on, protests going on. You know, I see this as being very, very messy, very messy, but also at the same time, unfortunately, very necessary. A necessary evil that needs to kind of happen in order to, you know, end or put an end to things that we're just tired of accepting, that are not working. They are clearly not working. And I think people are fed up. And so, you know, this is really a time to um, find what your passion is, you know. This is definitely going to build character through experiences for sure. Um, but find out what you're passionate about and work hard towards that. If that means you have to build character, then do that. Recognizing when these feelings come up again, that's a something you need to be disciplined in, not to go back to, not to accept things that make you feel under pressure, or not safe. Mars and Cancer, not secure, not stable, or even Gemini, not educated, not knowledgeable, not informed, right? This is going to be a time to start replacing some of those old things that just aren't working anymore to something more solution based, you know, how to better yourself. Um, yeah. So real quick, family, again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I hope that you found this information helpful in some way, shape, or form. I am a Western astrologer, so I do go by the rising sign. If you don't know what your rising sign is, you can send me an email. I'll send you your birth chart so that you can have that information. But I use whole sign, and so this could be different depending on, you know, what system you're using. But for Aries, the hard work you've done to grow your career is going to become highlighted for you. For Taurus, what you've learned, this is going to be about what you've learned when it comes to spirituality and education. For Gemini, this is what do you give others and what do others give you? What karmic debt have you paid off in relationships? Where is your ambition guiding you and how has it become your enemy? For Cancer, this is about how you've matured from romantic relationships, what you've learned from love, sex, and money, what you've healed from when it comes to love, sex, and money. Leo, this is probably going to be about what you've learned from work, what you've learned from sacrifice, what you've learned is worth your time and energy and what isn't, what you've learned about health, and what skills you've learned from the hard work that you've been doing. For Virgo, this is about what you've developed that allows you to share with the world and what makes you happy. Libra, this is about what you've learned about generational karma. What karma have you healed with parents and partners? And what have you healed around home and children? Scorpio, what kinds of things have you changed um, around your mind, culture, people, and communication? Um, and have your needs changed? And how are you going to express that to people moving forward? Sagittarius, what has changed around your relationships with money? How have your resources transformed? Capricorn, you've been going through major changes around who you are, what you're here to learn, and what you're here to share with the world. Aquarius, solitude and reflection and introspection have been helping you transform. Pisces, this is about changing your community, groups, allies, and friends. Who are the right ones for you? And what do you need from them moving forward? Again, family, I hope this information was helpful. I love and appreciate you. Peace.